It's Monday, and that so happens to be the day that I like to talk about monsters. Hello, and welcome to Monster Mondays. I am Jeff Arbuckle, co-host of the podcast Film Seizure, that you can catch each Wednesday at filmseizure.com or at a number of podcast providers online. It's the 90s, and July is our penultimate month of Monster Mondays as a whole, but July is also the final month that we're featuring a set of movies from a particular decade. Now, next month, as we bring the show to a close, I'll be covering other movies that I wanted to make sure to cover before the end of the series. But when it came to the 90s, I have to admit, it wasn't super easy to pick 4 movies from the 90s to cover. Now, what movies seem to be perfect to cover, like one that I will be featuring in 2 weeks, seemed like one that would actually be covered with my compadres on Film Seizure. Hell, even this week's movie could be one of those too, but others were those fairly bad, if not as, not as fun movies that were kind of squirted out by Miramax and Dimension. The decade wasn't completely void, and I think I picked a good crop with the last one of the month, being like last week's 1970s finale, being one that is just kind of for me. That said, though, there is a 5th 90s movie that I will be working towards next month, but bookmark that for now. Alright, so let's talk about Men in Black. Well, this is what I think is the pinnacle of 1990s kind of sci-fi monster flicks. This comes a year after a very popular sci-fi thriller, Independence Day, that proved the second half of the 90s were much more interested in sci-fi horror than they were in sci-fi or horror independently. At least, that's what it felt like to me. I was there. I knew what was going on, but horror slashers like Scream were more self-aware and kind of riffing on their own genre. Sci-fi, if not Star Trek or Star Wars, wasn't that popular at the time, but sci-fi horror was kind of having a huge footprint. But Men in Black was something different that I think ultimately led to it becoming a massive box office hit. In fact, it was one of the top 10 grossing movies of the entire decade, and the start of what would become a pretty big franchise. Our leads, Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, were hot at the time. Smith transitioned from hip-hop to television and now to film, and with the help of that Independence Day movie I just mentioned, he was a certified box office hit. He was printing money at this point. Jones spent most of the 80s as an actor who mostly took supporting roles, but was always very well liked by audiences and critics. And in 1991, he hit big with an Oscar-nominated turn in the Oliver Stone conspiracy docudrama JFK. 2 years later, he won Best Supporting Actor for 1993's The Fugitive, which itself spun off into a sequel starring Jones called U.S. Marshals. Then in 1995, he was Two-Face in Batman Forever. Whatever you think of that movie by Joel Schumacher, it was better than Batman and Robin, and if I'm being honest, maybe a hot take here, for my money, better than Batman Returns. But these guys were box office hits who both had great personalities that could work well with one another, playing off of each other, with Smith the younger happy-go-lucky guy and Jones the gruff veteran with an almost Joe Friday stone face, and it was just perfect. But Men in Black's director is Barry Sonnenfeld. Now, this guy got his start as a cinematographer with the Coen brothers. He did Blood Simple, Raising Arizona, and Miller's Crossing with the brothers, but also did great work on Big, When Harry Met Sally, and Misery. In 1991, he went into directing his own movies with the Addams Family. Again, maybe we bookmark that movie for a little later. But he then directed The Great Get Shorty in 1995, which led to him getting a quartet of Smith films, starting with this movie and its 2 sequels, as well as the 1999 box office setback, or bomb, if you will, Wild Wild West. The 3 MIB movies are massive box office hits for Sonnenfeld, while the 2 Addams Family movies that he made also are beloved by several people my age and younger. Again, bookmark Gomez, Morticia, Wednesday, Pugsley, and Fester for a little later. But now, the term Men in Black had been used for a long time in conspiracy theories. These were government men wearing the same black suits and ties with sunglasses and always seemingly pop up whenever something the government wanted to hush up would happen. Men in Black were often connected to UFOs and aliens, and that led to an indie comic book series in 1990 from Air Cell Comics. Air Cell was founded in 1985 and was part of the kind of indie underground comics boom of the 80s. But like most of them, just 9 years later, Air Cell was gone. And most of this was due to Air Cell first merging with Eternity Comics, itself an imprint of Malibu Comics. Malibu was later bought out by Marvel Comics. But Air Cell did a lot of mini-series, really. I mean, there are titles like 2000 Maniacs and Galaxina that call back to indie films from years and decades past. But with only 6 issues spread across 2 3-issue miniseries, Men in Black was by far the most popular title, as it provided the basis for Sonnenfeld's sci-fi action comedy. Names based on letters of the alphabet, the choice to cut all ties with their former lives, the neuralyzer, the interaction and investigation of all sorts of otherworldly and paranormal creatures, all of that comes from the comics, which, because everything from Air Cell and Malibu are now owned by Marvel, the movie credits the comics as being Marvel Comics. So maybe somewhere out there in the multiverse of madness in the MCU, there's still the MIB universe. But let's talk about this banger of a late 90s hit. The movie begins with what else? ICE. Well, more exactly, Border Patrol. There's a man in a van that's trying to transport some Mexicans over the border, but is stopped by the immigration guys. However, 2 guys who, from what they claim is INS Division 6, something that didn't exist, K and D, pull up and say that they are taking it from here. Now, Kay, played by Tommy Lee Jones, starts speaking Spanish to the immigrants and finds a guy who doesn't seem to have any idea what he's saying. Kay and D then take this man off into the desert for more interrogations and discover that is actually an outer space alien with a Mexican guy's head on a stick that he puppets. Now, one of the Border Patrol guys comes up over the hill to see what these 2 guys are talking to, and the alien then charges the Border Patrol officer, forcing Kay to shoot the alien and gooifying it, basically splashing all of its guts and stuff onto the officer. Kay then uses a neuralyzer on the Border Patrol guys to flash a light into their eyes, making them forget the last several minutes, thus protecting the secrets of the Men in Black. But D, realizing that he's a little too old now to carry on as part of the Men in Black, so he asks Kay to neuralyze him on the spot, basically returning him to a civilian life. But now, cut to NYPD Officer James Edwards, played by Will Smith, showing quite a bit of skill chasing down a suspect. And he soon learns that this possible criminal who keeps saying, quote, he's coming, turns out to be an alien too after he leaps to his death from the top of an office building. Kay explains to James back at the station that what he saw in the suspect's multiple eyelids were actually gills. He was trying to breathe. And he questions the younger officer about what the guy said about the world ending, as well as taking him to a pawn shop seller who is into quite out of this world weaponry that he sells to other people. He's quite impressed with Edwards, so he decides to recruit the young man into the Men in Black. Meanwhile, out in the boonies of upstate New York, an aggressive alien crash lands onto an equally aggressive hillbilly's farm, and the alien skins the farmer and then takes his skin to wear as a disguise. Now, James begins a series of tests and exercises with various other potential recruits from various branches of the military, and the head of MIB, Zed, administers the test, which James excels at, and he's inducted into the Men in Black under the codename J, and his record and identity are expunged. And as Zed neuralyzes the military guys, Kay gives the history of the Men in Black. Basically, in the early 60s, the organization is created after making contact with an alien. The Men in Black then sets Earth up as a neutral zone for aliens seeking refugee status and live secretly among people. A very clever way of talking about them being aliens, right? Like we always think about illegal aliens or legal aliens that migrate to America. And of course the movie starts that way. But these are literally aliens coming to Earth seeking asylum, seeking a refugee place to live, going forward. So now back to that aggressive alien that landed and took over the skin of that farmer. Well, he's known as a bug. He kills 2 other aliens that seem to be harboring something called, quote unquote, the galaxy. J and K, investigating a couple seemingly fleeing something, soon learn that there's a bug on the planet. And the aliens that the bug killed end up in the morgue with coroner Laurel Weaver, someone who's already has started to see strange things in the morgue. Now, she spots the structure of the bodies of these 2 dead men being kind of bizarre. They don't have any internal organs. The reason why is that little tiny aliens drive these bodies around from inside the head. And when Laurel and Jay reveal the little guy inside the head of one of the bodies, the alien tells them that they must help prevent a war and that, quote, the galaxy is on Orion's belt, unquote. Now, while J, K, and Z try to figure out what that message means, they soon discover hundreds of aliens currently on Earth are leaving in a hurry. And what's more, the species of the 2 dead aliens belong to the Archelians, who have arrived, and they're one of the guys that was harboring this galaxy is their prince. So they're none too pleased about what's going on Earth. While investigating, J and K discover the bug, but the bug ultimately escapes them. But he soon discovers that his victims were sent to the morgue. So meanwhile, Kay shakes down an alien that looks like a pug for information. And the pug says that whatever the Archelians want, this galaxy thing, it's small. It's something that can fit inside of like a crystal or something that you could put on a pendant. But no less important despite its size. And Jay remembers something important. There's a cat that accompanied the dead Archelians into the morgue, and it had a collar with a bauble on it. And at the same time, Laurel, played by Linda Fiorentino, she discovers that cat's collar says his name is Orion, and the bauble on the collar has what appears to be an entire galaxy in it. They race to the morgue, but the bug gets there first, and while Jay tries to talk to Laurel, who is trying to tell him that she's under some duress, Kay discovers the dead body of the attendant at the front desk of the morgue. Interestingly enough, played by David Cross, long before he became super famous as a comedian. But they confront the bug again, but he escapes with Laurel and the galaxy with the 2 men in black in hot pursuit. Now, when the Archelians fire the opening salvo that ultimately gives Earth only 1 hour before they destroy the planet, Jay figures out where the bug is headed with the galaxy. Earlier, when it was explained that Earth made first contact with aliens, the spaceships that the aliens used to get here were placed atop 2 pylons at the Queen's World's Fair. So they were kind of basically hiding these spaceships in plain sight. And after Laurel escapes the bug, he takes off in one of the ships, but J and K arrive to shoot it down. And when the bug sheds its human skin suit, it's revealed to be quite a large creature. And before they can shoot their rifles again, it takes their rifles and swallows them. Kay tells Jay that no matter what, you have to keep this bug on this planet while he goes to retrieve his gun by being swallowed by the bug. And it looks like Jay is going to fail keeping the bug from the second spaceship until he begins stepping on some cockroaches, which angers and distracts the large alien bug. And that gives Kay enough time to blow the bug up from inside out. They retrieve the galaxy and save the world. However, the top half of the bug is still alive and nearly eats Agent J, but Laurel shoots it with one of the rifles, destroying it for good. After returning to MIB headquarters, Kay asks Jay to neuralyze him. And he tells Jay that he wasn't training a partner these last few days. He was training his replacement. And he also mentions that seeing the inside of the intestines of a bug is a memory he does not want to keep. And so Jay neuralyzes Kay, and it's later revealed that Kay reunited with his girlfriend from 35 years before when he joined the Men in Black in the first place. Jay's new partner is Laurel, who has now taken the name Agent L, and the Men in Black keep doing their job watching over the planet's alien visitors. And in a really kind of fun little shot, they back away from the planet, then they back away from the solar system, then the galaxy, and all of that. And it shows these aliens playing marbles with these various marbles that have galaxies inside of them, and then scooping them all up and putting them in the bag with other galaxy marbles. It's a fun little way to end the movie. But it's time for me to name 3 things I like about Men in Black. First, I've always quite liked how imaginative this whole world is. It so easily relays its concepts to the audience. So as long as you can accept that 1, there are aliens coming to Earth all the time, and 2, there is a government agency that monitors, tracks, and polices those aliens coming and going, you're in. There's nothing more you really need to know. But there are aliens that suck the insides out of people and then wear their skins. There are little aliens that pilot around big people suits. There's a dog that talks that's an alien himself. Guys can have their heads blown off and have it regrow within seconds. I mean, the whole idea that quote unquote hot sheets that the agents use to get information are just tabloids that lead them to aliens and stuff. The whole structure of the Men in Black is also extremely well thought out and well conveyed. Laser guns, neutralizers, flying cars, super speed on cars, a bunch of other futuristic and alien stuff. It's just a bunch of fun, and it's so easy to see how this can become a major hit with audiences, with all that kind of imagination and kind of levity behind it. Next, Vincent D'Onofrio is so great in this as the bad guy wearing a bug wearing a skin suit. I mean, first of all, D'Onofrio is always a great master of disguise in some of his more memorable roles. But in this, not only does he have to do a lot of voice work as he starts to deteriorate that skin suit begins to deteriorate around him, but he's also doing a lot of great facial work too. It's really good stuff, and it's a big swing in terms of performance. It's by far and away the most over-the-top performance in the movie, and it really connects. It's a very, very good set of choices made by, at this point in time, mostly a character actor who had a great deal of talent and always has had a great deal of talent. But thirdly, speaking of performances, I love the back and forth between Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. They work exceptionally well together, and it's obvious why Will Smith is well liked in this movie in general. He's kind of the sharp-tongued modern kid with all the hip dialogue, which most of it is either fun or funny. Tommy Lee Jones, on the other hand, is the seasoned pro who has that bit of that older way of thinking and a bit more conservative and more of a calm demeanor. Yet Jones is always the type of character who seems to naturally fall into his roles. It's like he and Smith's Agent J have known each other for years. Jones is so damn good at rattling off his lines to whoever he's on camera with, and it works in perfect concert with Smith in all of these Men in Black movies that they appear together in. And as good as the imagination of the various concepts are, or how good D'Onofrio is as the big bad guy, it's really Smith and Jones that comprises the heart of not just this movie, but 2 more sequels. And it's just always great to see these 2 working together. And again, it's hard not to like Will Smith, and it's even harder not to like Tommy Lee Jones when you are really getting their personalities to shine together in this movie. But that wraps up this week's Monster Mondays. You can catch new episodes of Monster Mondays each Monday afternoon at filmseizure.com. But don't forget to follow Film Seizure at Facebook, Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky. You can also subscribe to Film Seizure to get both the Wednesday morning Film Seizure podcast and the Monday afternoon Monster Monday show at your favorite podcast providers, as well we upload the stuff to YouTube, so you can follow us there too. You can also check out my website, bmovieanima.com, to read new reviews every Friday morning. Next time, we stay in 1997 for another monster flick with another director like Sonnenfeld, whose popularity really began working on other projects in the 80s. But join me as we try to stop a reptilian creature killing everything in a museum in Chicago in The Relic. And until next week, stay spooky.